When Reeves stepped out of the bathroom, the smell of food had already crept down the hallway and wrapped around him like a warm hand. He followed it slow, shuffling in those slippers Jackie had pulled from the box, the robe hanging just open enough to be comfortable. It was the kind of quiet that settles into a house when somebody who knows what they're doing is in the kitchen. The kind of quiet Reeves hadn't felt in a long time. When he turned the corner, he stopped. Jackie was at the stove, back turned, stirring something that smelled like it had been cooking since before either one of them had any problems. She'd changed into a fitted house dress, the kind a woman puts on when she isn't trying to impress anybody, which, Reeves was finding out, was somehow the most dangerous kind. He stood there longer than he should have. Noticed the way she shifted her weight from one foot to the other. The curve of her hip resting easy against the counter like she owned every inch of that kitchen, which she did. He'd known Jackie Lee going on 11 years. Apparently, he hadn't been paying close enough attention. "Sweet tea or lemonade?" Jackie called out, still not turning around. Reeves blinked. "What?" "Sweet tea or lemonade?" "It's not a difficult question, Reeves." "Tea," he said, clearing his throat. "Sweet tea." He moved toward the dining room and pulled out a chair, but something in the hallway stopped him before he could sit. The small room. Jackie had closed that door earlier. Closed it fast, the way people close things they aren't ready to explain. But now it was cracked open. Just barely. Just enough that a warm amber glow from a lamp inside was spilling out quiet across the hardwood floor, like it had been waiting on somebody to notice. Reeves glanced back toward the kitchen. Jackie was still stirring. He walked to the door and pushed it open slow. The room was small, intentional. A worn leather chair sat in the corner, the kind a man lowers himself into at the end of a long day and doesn't rush to get up from. Reeves recognized it immediately as the kind of chair a man earns. On the wall, photographs. Not one or two. Several. A whole life arranged in frames. The first one Reeves settled on was a fishing photo. His friend standing on the bank of some river. Reeves had never heard him mention, holding up a catch with a grin so wide and easy it almost didn't look like the same man. Reeves had known him for years. They'd shared long conversations over the counter at Jackie's shop, the kind of conversations that go somewhere real, about life and regret and what a man does with the time he's got left. They'd shared laughs too. Plenty of them. A lot of those laughs were about Jackie, the way she ran that shop like a 4-star general and somehow made everyone feel like family at the same time. His friend had loved that about her, loved talking about her, and Reeves had loved listening. But this man in the fishing photo, standing out there in waders with mud on his boots and joy all over his face, Reeves had never seen him look like that, had never even known he fished. He moved to the next photograph. A game night. A dining room table covered in cards and snacks, 4 or 5 people laughing at something just outside the frame. Jackie was there, mouth open mid-laugh, one hand pressed to her chest, the way she laughs when something catches her off guard. And beside her, his friend, leaning back in his chair with that quiet smile he got when he was exactly where he wanted to be. Reeves studied the other faces at that table. Every single one of them was a stranger. Not one face he recognized. Not one name he could put to any of them. He moved to the next photograph. Then the next. More strangers. A whole community of people who knew his friend in a way Reeves never had. A whole life that had been lived somewhere just out of view. Then something on the shelf below the photos caught his eye. A boxing trophy. Old, the kind with the gold paint starting to wear at the edges, and beside it, a framed diploma. Reeves leaned in and read it. A culinary degree. His friend had been a trained chef, had stood behind Jackie's counter every day of his working life, and never once mentioned that he had the credentials to run a kitchen anywhere in the country. Reeves straightened up slowly. He thought about all those mornings, all those conversations, all that easy laughter. And he wondered now, not with suspicion, just with the quiet ache of a man recalculating, how much of his friend he had actually known. Because the man in these photographs hadn't just been Jackie's husband and a familiar face at the donut shop. He had been a full person, layered, private in ways Reeves had never thought to question. And that was the part that sat heavy. Not that his friend had kept things close. Everybody does. But that Reeves, who had spent 31 years reading people for a living, had never once thought to look. He was almost to the door when one of the photos stopped him. A group of men, maybe 6 or 7 of them, standing outside what looked like a neighborhood cookout. His friend was in the center, laughing, tongues in hand, apron on. Reeves scanned the faces the way he always did, left to right, slow, taking inventory. Most of them meant nothing, but one face on the far right edge of the photograph made him stop. He leaned in closer. The man was looking slightly away from the camera, like he'd been caught mid-turn, like he hadn't quite decided whether he wanted to be in the picture. Average height, clean cut, something around the jaw and the eyes that tugged at the back of Reeves' memory like a word sitting right on the tip of his tongue. He knew that face. He was almost certain of it. But from where? From when? From when? From what part of his life that face belonged to? He could not say. He stood there another few seconds, turning it over, coming up empty. Finally, he stepped back, pulled the door to right where he found it, and walked back down the hall toward the dining room. Some things wouldn't come when you called them. Sometimes a memory needed time to find its own way back. When he sat down at the table, Jackie came around the corner, carrying 2 plates. The way a woman carries plates when feeding people is something she does with her whole self. Smothered pork chops. White rice. Green beans cooked all the way down with something extra in them he couldn't name but already respected. She set his plate in front of him without ceremony and went back for the drinks. Reeves looked at the food. He told himself on the drive over to just be present. Just be a man, having a meal with a friend. You are retired. There is no clock. There is no case. You are just a man in some comfortable slippers eating a home-cooked meal. But before she came back to the table, Jackie opened the refrigerator and started pulling out takeout boxes, clearing space for the food she'd cooked. One by one, she stacked them on the counter. Reeves watched without meaning to. His eyes moved the way they always did, cataloging, recording, noting details before his brain had even decided to care. There were 5 boxes in all. Each one had a logo printed on the side. Each logo was a dragon. Different restaurants, different designs, but dragons all the same. An orange one, a green one, a blue one, a pink one. And on the last box, just before Jackie dropped it into the trash without a second glance, a purple dragon. Reeves said nothing. He just watched the lid of the trash can settle back into place and sat with that for a moment. 5 restaurants. 5 dragons. 5 different colors. Maybe it meant nothing. Probably it meant nothing. This city had more takeout spots than it had streetlights, and a dragon on a logo wasn't exactly unusual. But the purple one. Something about the purple one. He couldn't say what. Not yet. Jackie sat down across from him and bowed her head. Reeves caught himself and bowed his too. After a quiet moment, she picked up her fork. "You're already working it," she said, without looking up. Reeves said nothing. "I can tell," Jackie said. "Your eyes go somewhere else and your face gets still. Been doing it since you walked in." "I'm sitting right here. Your body is," she said. She looked up at him then. Not hard, not soft, just honest. "Eat your food, Reeves." He ate. For a while, the only sound in the house was silverware scraping plates and the low hum of the refrigerator doing its job. Jackie didn't push. That was one of the things about her. She knew when to let silence be silence. Most people didn't know that. Most people got uncomfortable and started filling the air with words that didn't need to be there. Not Jackie. She had learned stillness from a man who apparently knew how to keep things close. "This is good," Reeves said finally. "I know," Jackie said. Reeves almost smiled. "You could have just said thank you." "I could have," Jackie agreed. He took another bite. Let a few more seconds pass. "Those men that came in the first time," he said. "What did they order?" Jackie set her fork down for just a moment, picked it back up. "Coffee. One of them had a jelly donut." "Which one?" "The one that did the talking." Reeves nodded slow. "And the other one?" "Just sat there," Jackie said. "Didn't touch a thing. Kept his eyes on the door the whole time." Reeves kept his face flat. A man who doesn't order anything and watches the door isn't there for donuts. He's counting who comes in and who goes out. He's learning the room. That kind of patience wasn't casual. That was trained. "You remember what they asked you?" Jackie looked at him across the table. "Is this dinner or a deposition?" "Dinner," Reeves said. I'm just asking. You don't just ask anything, Jackie said. You're investigating. In my dining room. In a robe. Reeves looked down at himself. She wasn't wrong. He was sitting there in house slippers and a terry cloth robe running a witness interview over smothered pork chops. He let out a slow breath and picked up his sweet tea. I'm trying not to, he said. And he meant it. Jackie's voice came down a little softer. I know you are. They finished the meal mostly quiet after that. Jackie cleared the plates, and Reeves stayed at the table, staring at nothing in particular. The window, the front door, the way the porch light threw long shadows across the front walk. He helped Jackie with the dishes, or tried to, until she pointed out that he'd been holding the same plate under the faucet for nearly a minute without moving, and told him to go sit down. So he did. He sat in the living room in the quiet of Jackie's house, and after a while his mind drifted the way it always did, back to the 5 cases. The ones from the safe. The ones he'd spent the better part of retirement turning over every which way. He knew those files better than he knew his own address. He could recite the names, the dates, the details that never added up, and now someone had taken them. Not the television. Not the cash in the drawer. The files and his service weapon, both gone. Whoever came through that door didn't want him to investigate, and they didn't want him to protect himself while he did. That told him everything and nothing all at once. Whoever had been in his house knew exactly what they were looking for, which meant they knew the cases. Which meant they were either connected to one of them, or they were trying to make sure Reeves couldn't connect them himself. Either way, it wasn't random. None of this was random. The men at the donut shop, the missing files, the stolen weapon, all of it was pointed. All of it was leading somewhere. The only question was whether Reeves was being led or being warned. He sat with that thought until the house grew still and Jackie's light went dark down the hall. And just before his eyes finally closed, that face from the photograph drifted back to him. The man on the far right edge of the cookout picture, looking away from the camera, like he hadn't decided yet whether he wanted to be seen. Reeves still couldn't place him. But it would come. It always did. And something told him that when it did, he wasn't going to like the answer.